Chrome won. It is apparent that Google's browser is the way the majority of users experience the web today. And I think that's a good thing. Before Chrome, we had a crazy few decades going from Mosaic to Netscape to Internet Explorer to Firefox to Opera to settling kind of on Chrome. It's crazy to think how much browsers were shifting all over for decades for us to just settle on one. And now the core of Chromium, is being used in lots of other browsers like Opera, like Edge, the replacement for Internet Explorer. The harsh reality is, without the centralization of the Chromium engine, we would not have the web that we have today. I think we are not giving Chrome enough credit for how much it's moved the web forward. And I think the Chrome monopoly has been a good thing for the web. Before Chrome, web standards weren't really standard. We had HTML, which was the thing that would tell your browser what to render where, and that was about it. Then we had CSS that would style the things in the HTML. And then eventually Netscape hacked together this thing that we now know and love, JavaScript, to let you do dynamic code inside of your websites. None of these things were standard. All of these things were chaos. And some effort was made to standardize them. But just as much effort was being put into making crazy proprietary technologies by people like Microsoft with ActionScript and Internet Explorer. And although standards were starting to appear, they weren't being adopted, and they certainly weren't moving very fast. The biggest value of Chrome isn't just that it's a faster or better browser. It's the way it was built and the way the Chrome team has involved itself with building better standards. In '94, the W3C was formed as the World Wide Web Consultorium. It was built to make standards possible so that the groups building the new browsers and technologies could try and agree on what the web was and how it should be accessed and standardized. These standards were great for third parties like Netscape, as well as open source projects like Firefox, to have an entry point to build on top of. But when Google joined W3C, that's when things started to move much faster. Google had ambitious goals for the web, and they wanted their browser to push the whole web forward, not just their little corner of it. So they would add things to Chrome and push really hard to get those things standardized as part of W3C. Technologies we rely on every day, like WebRTC in the browser so we can do video calls, like Bluetooth in the browser so you can connect devices and interact with them. Things like most of JavaScript's ecosystem, and certainly V8, the JavaScript runtime that powers things like Node.js. Those are all technologies, standards, and attempts by Google to push the whole ecosystem forward. They could have just made Chrome a closed source hidden thing in the corner, but they didn't choose to do that. They chose to let Chrome push the web. Without that, I don't think a lot of us would be here. This is a channel full of web developers who love building crazy new things and trying out these new standards and pushing things forward. And honestly, the most frustrating bugs I run into nowadays as a developer are when I built something that works great in Chrome on my machine, and then it has a weird bug in Firefox or Safari because they don't actually honor some weird CSS grid property, or their flex is implemented incorrectly, or they just don't support a specific feature in JavaScript like backwards lookup in regex. What the hell, Firefox? It's just a bit of a mess. And as someone who was developing on the web back then, it really feels like we have more innovation in web standards, APIs, and things to build with. It's really hard to look at the current state of the web without acknowledging how much Google and Chrome pushed it forward. Google's goal of building a stronger web led to Chrome, but it also led to a stronger web. And without Chrome's success and dominance, a lot of these new features and technologies, a lot of these new standards, a lot of the new opportunities we build on top of would never have been able to exist. I hope that when we have the conversation about browser technologies, that we at the very least consider the power of what Chrome has done. The goal of Firefox was to prove web standards and push them forward, and I think Chrome's done an even better job at that than Mozilla ever could. Let's take the time to thank Chrome for making the web what it is today, and let's be excited about the future on top of the new technologies Chrome's allowed us to build with. I have a feeling this one's going to get me a lot of heat, so let me know what I missed. Thank you as always. Whatever videos here is pretty good, so make sure you check that out too. Peace, nerds.